Okay.
All right, welcome people who are coming in now. We will get started in a minute or two to be respectful of time. We're going to give folks a few minutes to be able to come on in and get settled, and then we will get underway. And if you're here as the first few, you get to hear that announcement in another minute or two as well. Because the idle small talk part of webinars, I think, is the hardest part of starting a webinar and while you're waiting for people to come in. All right, so if people, as you're coming in, if you want to find the chat, make sure you know where that's at. I'm going to be fielding questions in the chat, so you can go ahead and chime in with where you're from, and put that out in the chat if you'd like. And also, we'll get into some logistics to start the show of where you can contribute, what kind of information can you share, all those types of things. So give it about another 30 seconds, and then we'll start in so that we are respectful of time. And we'll call that 30 seconds, you think? All right, so let's get this underway. So my name is Marcus. I'm one of the founders of Harmonize, and I'm actually going to be in the background today. I'm just going to handle some logistics introductions, and then hand it over to everyone else. In terms of making sure you're in the right place, nursing with the University of Rochester, and how to teach nursing online, bunch of different strategies and things they found that are useful, super informal conversation. So any questions that you have, you're welcome to chime in. We'll get them out to the group. It is being recorded, so we will share the recording afterwards. We'll host it up on the website. And additionally, any questions you have, put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A. I will be monitoring both, and I will do my best to sort of interleave the questions out to the group as we're going through. Additionally, there is a Padlet that David will introduce as well, and I will be putting that out in the chat at multiple times because we really view webinars as it's valuable to hear from the panelists, but it's also valuable to hear from you. You're all going to have ideas that are stimulated by this, or you have things that you're doing in your own practice that you'd like to share. So a bunch of different ways to communicate. And without further ado, I will turn it over to David to handle introductions, and I will jump off video and start paying attention in the chat.
Thanks, Marcus. So welcome everyone to our Teaching Nursing Online. Would like to extend a big thank you to the University of Rochester's College of Nursing. 4 of their distinguished professors are joining us today to share what they're doing with online classes, specifically around nursing. With us today, we have Michael Rosario McCabe, Margaret Carno, Tara Serwitnick, did I say that right? I hope I did. And Rebecca Knowles. So thank you all for being here. We do, like Marcus mentioned, have a Padlet that he's going to put up the link to. But this is an area we do want to hear from you, hear what ideas that you may have tried in your classes. You can also just put in links if you'd like, maybe some resources. If you participate, make sure you put your name on there if you would like. And at the end of the webinar later this afternoon, I will randomly pick some winners for some free Starbucks gift cards. So a little bit of motivation there to hopefully get you ready to be engaged and interacting with our panelists. So with that being said, we're going to get into this idea of how to have an engaging, interactive course for nursing. Now, University of Rochester, they offer a lot of different programs. So would any of you like to first start out maybe giving us kind of an overview of what you guys are doing there at University of Rochester?
Sure. So I'm Michael Rosario McCabe, the director for our RNWS program and faculty in the RNWS program. Within the courses that I teach, we use Harmonize in a couple of different ways. We use it mostly, of course, for discussion board, kind of the traditional format, but as well as in a group. We'll put the project groups together. And so they'll be able to have discussions within their own group. And that's just considered participation points. It's not so much post and respond as much as it is providing ideas, and then we meet and go over those. So we use it in that format as well as a traditional discussion board in some other areas.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Tara, I know that you mentioned to me one of the big parts of your program is trying to create community. You want to speak a little bit about how you do that and why you do that?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Tara Serwetnick. I'm the Director of Academic Innovation at the School of Nursing. And I work with a team of instructional designers, and we do have courses that are Quality Matters certified. So we do follow some frameworks. One of them is Community of Inquiry. And we like to have some consistency among the courses in the way of, we have introductory modules that we put as one of the first things that our students do. And within the introductory module, we like to have low stakes type activities that mimic what the students might be doing throughout the course. So using Harmonize, for example, we would have really just some introductions. And one of the things that I like to do is role play how I would like them to participate in the introductory activity. So I always use a video introducing myself, tell the students a little bit about my background, a little bit about the course, the purpose of the course, why I love teaching the course. And I do tell them a little bit something more personal about myself. And I think that it helps to set the stage, recognizing that when you're speaking in a video, you may not say everything exactly perfectly. Just like now when I'm talking to all of you, I may have some hiccups here and there, and that's okay because we're all human. But really just striving for that interaction. And this is one way to do that, I think, is by just role playing. I also might put a picture or something up along with my video, usually I show a picture of my dog because he's fun and cute, but then I notice that other people will do the same. So it just kind of sets the stage for how we want students to interact in the course. And the introductory discussion board is usually, we don't have any points associated with that. It just allows them to practice using the different features in Harmonize without having to worry about, getting dinged for not knowing how to use it or something like that.
And in that introduction assignment, you're actually encouraging them to use videos to post. And so that actually, what you were saying is that kind of feeds into the rest of the assignments that you're doing throughout the rest of the course, correct?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. What type of interactions are you seeing in that type of course? Is it a lot of like one words, or do they actually get engaged and have a back and forth?
We see tremendous interaction in all of the courses where we use Harmonize. I think, kind of setting the stage by using video, that just makes everyone, if they start that way, they'll also respond to each other using the video feature as well.
Oh.
I also, sometimes students will post other sorts of videos that are fun, like they might do some GIFs or something like that. But I think that it just helps set the stage for what we might want to see throughout the course. I definitely see a lot of different pictures of, even hiking trails, or people, if we're talking about hobbies, they might put links in, we're close to the Finger Lake. So just sharing information like that you, more personal, fun information, just to get them to know each other a little bit more before diving into the content of the course.
So do you explicitly stay away from the idea of talking about nursing in the introduction, or do you encourage them occasionally to mention something about why are they pursuing nursing, or are you really just focused on the personal information about them at that point?
It really is a combination of both. There are times where I teach in a graduate program, so I mainly teach in the Master's in Nursing Education program, but I also work with our pre-licensure and undergraduate programs. So for our pre-licensure program, we do start in a foundations course by, having them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about, what are your goals for the program? What type of nurse do you want to be? Why are you getting into nursing? And then also share something personal about themselves. So it really is kind of a combination of things.
Setting that foundation of making that connections, making that community, so that once you get deeper into the academic side, they have more of that willingness to interact.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. I think it kind of, it's a nice icebreaker, I guess,
Yeah.
when you're trying to establish a community in an online format.
So once you have that connections beginning, they're starting to talk to each other through videos, maybe through writing. Then we're getting into some more of the academic side of the learning that's going on. Now, Michael, you had mentioned that you do a lot with the Capstone project using Harmonize. Could you maybe walk us through a little bit of that?
Sure. So part of their capstone is they have to set up the plan. And so we'll use Harmonize strategically throughout the semester, where they'll address certain aspects of the plan, such as some of their goal settings will be one of the Harmonized discussions, their theory that they have to identify a theory that they're using for their community project. And so we'll have them put that information up. They can put it up on a PowerPoint slide, a Word document, and then we'll discuss that, kind of the pros and cons of whatever it was that they've identified. Does it really fit their project? So we do a lot of teaching that way. It's built around, like I said, the group. So the group themselves use it as a discussion. So if the four of us are on a team and I have one theory and Dr. Swetnick has another theory, we might both put them up in that space, and then we can have a discussion. And then as faculty, meet with the students, and we actually go through all of them with them. That way, when they're piecing that project together, it's kind of all solidified, but it starts in the Harmonized discussion boards.
What value do you see in using Harmonize or using a discussion type of system for those discussions of, the interactions between you and the students, or even between the students and each other?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things is with the RNWS program, we're a fully online program. And it's pretty well asynchronous. So having that space specifically for the groups so that they can identify the needs of their project, and we can, as faculty, we can really help mentor them in that aspect. That way we're not missing a student or one group over another. Has been very helpful. Like I said, it allows them to ask questions. We post in video, as well as, like I said, they can post in PowerPoints. We will do, some of them are scenarios. So we'll put up a scenario in a video and have them address certain prompts and then connect that to their project or how they see it connect to their project. And then, like I said, then we have meetings. We actually have formal meetings with each of the groups that are Zoom, where we pull up. We've already discussed through Harmonize, but we actually pull all of it up again in a small setting with just the faculty in that group, go over their Harmonized discussions and their chosen topics, their theories, their goals, that sort of thing. So it's a great way for them, the students, because it's online. They all work different shifts. They're working in teams of 2 to 4 people. If I have the time to get on now, I can post my information, and my partner maybe doesn't get on until later tonight when they're available. It just leaves that space available that way. And they, like I said, they put up information in different ways. They can put it up in a Word doc. They can do a PowerPoint or a keynote presentation or slide and put that in there, which has been really helpful in allowing them, one, some creative license of how they want to do it. But it's a nice format and Harmonize. It's easy to view. I think that it's pretty straightforward. It's not complicated for the students once they get in there. And the feedback has been very positive that they like the format. So it's really that I think has also encouraged them to work with it.
Now, when they're in those small groups, do you are you picking those groups for them, or are
Yeah.
they forming those? Okay, you're picking
No,
those
we
for
picked
them.
them. So there's a couple of things where the whole class would be on the same discussion and they all share, but then as we get more specific, we will put them in their groups for their project. So project A team members will see project A members and they'll go in there and they can post and it's kind of takes away some of the anxiety, I think, particularly when there's other groups of they're not quite sure and they don't want to share with a larger group. It just keeps it within their team. It also, in that format, has been helping to make sure that the team comes together and works well, because that is all they see in those instances. So that's not all of the Harmonize for the class, but in particular sections, they only see each other. But it has been helpful in keeping the groups communicating together, like I said, in an online space when they don't come together in class. It's been helpful.
Awesome.
Yep.
So beyond the Capstone project and introductions, I know that you guys have talked about with me doing things like case studies where they're presenting a certain case that they are having to review. Becky, I think you were the one that was telling me about this. Could you maybe tell me a little bit about what you were doing with this assignment? I think you're on mute, Becky. Oh.
I guess I am. Thank you so much. So what I do, I also teach in the RN to BS program as well. And one of the courses that we use case studies specifically for is the leadership and management class. We take each student is given a module that they are going to be the case study leader and presenter, which means that we set up our harmonized discussion with that module. So we put in who the case study leader is. We put in the case study specifically that they'll be interpreting and presenting to the rest of the class. It has to be in audio format. It can be any platform they choose. So it can be PowerPoint, it can be Keynote, it can be clips, whatever they choose as the platform. However, they have to go through the case study that is specifically assigned to them. And the formatting is they have to discuss a quick synopsis of what is the case study asking you. The second piece would be, what are some of the key elements of this case study that we have learned in the class so far? What are some of the takeaways? What are the concepts that we're working on in that module or in that case study specifically? And then they use those concepts. So there's literature that they have to add in there, references. So quick blurbs, not a lot of details in the presentation itself, more talking through it with little pieces and chunks of knowledge for them to see. But talking through it, they can use video if they choose as well to make it a little bit more interactive. And then they talk through the case studies of how they would solve it using evidence-based resources that are provided either in text, the literature, the modules, and then they succinctly put it all together and give 4 different options and then they choose which was the best option they decided to go for and to solve the problem. They post it. So the initial post, so we do use wording. We use the concept of how many words do they have to be considered a successful post, as well as we do use the milestones. So they have to post, the moderator and the case study leader for that week has to post by Thursday at 9 p.m. And then what they do is, we typically have it's for the initial post, it's $250. And then for comments, it's 200. So 250 to 300. So I usually cap it at 3 as the minimum amount. And then 200 for their words. We do turn the auto grading on because they do get points for their initial post. So the case study leader presents theirs on Thursdays. They post it, it's upload. Every other student posts what they would do for that same case study. However, it does not have to be a video format, and it can be a condensed version of what they would do. And then the rest of the time from Thursday to Sunday, that case study leader is monitoring the Harmonize discussion platform, is looking at the discussions, posting comments, really being a facilitator and using that facilitator piece in Harmonize, so that if they've hit the benchmark of, that first initial point, they get 500 or 1,000 points. So I do it 500 points for the initial post. And then for subsequent posts, they have to have 3 comments that are done, and they have to be, and then if they do all 3, it's 500 points. So it really keeps the dialogue going with them taking the lead in facilitating the discussion post, and also posting more questions for them, for the rest of the students. And it gives them the interaction of looking, okay, so this is what I would have done. Oh, I see that you now posted this. I didn't even think about that. So the discussion continues. And so that's how they're able in leadership and management to problem solve as a collective, as not one. So they're learning from each other and engaging with each other in these case studies. And sometimes we have 2 case study presenters for one module. And if that's the case, then we change the primary posts where everybody has to post 2 that are not the case study leader. So they do have to post 2 posts because they're addressing both of the scenarios or the case studies. And then the rest of the group will have to go through each one of them and have the same discussion. So sometimes there are 2, which can be even more interactive based on how many they choose, if they want to stay within one case study, or maybe they want to learn a little bit more about the other. So they do have those options, which is nice with Harmonize, that you're able to put the post requirements, but also they are able to find which posts mean more to them so that they're still getting those points.
That's that whole system. I mean, very detailed, and it seems like you're giving the students an opportunity to be leaders in an online class that I don't think I've seen that done before. So that's are you seeing certain students rise up and being more of a leader, or how does that look?
You can definitely see who has it, the it factor. But it also helps the other students that maybe are a little bit more timid or are not sure of the technology or how they're going to interact with an online system and a totally asynchronous environment. It also shows them what others have done so that they can get comfortable in their own skin and with the technology. That I find by the end of the program, or the end of the course, they're even more engaging. So I always give kudos to the first 2 case study leaders, because they're the ones that are being the foundation for that module. But then they'll say, oh, I could have done better, or I should have done this. And then they have to do, each case study leader also does a reflection of how they believe they did and how that whole case study manifested. What was the outcome? So they really, you can see how they progress, and you can see the ones that maybe were a little more timid. Now at the end, they're even, questioning their colleagues and now speaking up and saying, hey, did you think about this? Or this happened to me, and now I'm going to question you, or I'm going to push back a little bit. So they're pushing the envelope a little bit more, which is great. And you see those discussions just flourish at the end.
I think
I have
Marcus.
so many. I have so many questions. That's fascinating. So,
Okay.
so are you when you're doing those private reflections, are you doing that in a separate private discussion board towards the
Yeah,
end?
so they're doing, they're actually, the reflection is going, it's a Word document, or however they choose to do it. They can, if they choose to do a video, they can do their reflection anyway. So that's the other piece. I don't dictate that it has to be in a document, in a Word format. I give them the ability to, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do video? Do you want to do audio? Do you want to talk through it and just have a conversation? But as long as you're putting all the pieces together. And we don't right now with the journaling, that journal part of that reflection piece, we're not putting it specifically into Harmonize. But it's a separate assignment that they have to do, but they're reflecting back on that. So there are areas, obviously, we could put it right in there as a Q&A or a comment, but there's lots of opportunities there.
Excellent. And one final question on that. Are you using the formal student facilitation part of Harmonize to
We
nominate
are.
them?
Yep.
Awesome. Super cool. All right, I'll go back off. I just had not heard that before, so I'll drop off video now and turn it back over to you, David.
All right. Thank you, Becky and Marcus. So I want to transition a little bit over to, I think all of these programs we've heard so far are more the undergrad side with the capstone and the case studies. But I believe, Margaret, you're teaching a graduate program, and one of the areas you look at is around ethics. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. I teach the ethics and public policy course for our nurse practitioner students. It is completely online. That course is completely online. And I use Harmonize in a little different way. Given that it's at the first part of the course is ethics, I actually have them do debates within Harmonize. So they can upload PowerPoints or they could make a video. I assign the groups and I assign what part of the debate they're in. So that way there's no, they don't have a choice because I do it randomly and I want them to push to push the students to think of all the situations from both sides. And the students, what I do when I use just Harmonize as a discussion, because I also use it both ways in the course. I have the students cannot see their peers' posts until they have posted. The reason why I do that is that I want the student to think about how they are going to answer the question, or even when the discussion groups are going on, I can I go in and moderate that. That way they have come up with their original thoughts. And then once they have done their post, they need to go in and make comments on their peers' posts. So, and being that it is a graduate course, it is, their initial post has to be 750 words. And their comments, they have 2 comments, have to be at least 500 words. I also do not at the graduate level use the auto grading. Given the nature and the topic. But when I have taught in the undergraduate program, I do use the auto grading. I do find it helpful. The debates have gone really well. They've been very engaged. They have requirements. They have to go out, they have to search the literature, they have to present the literature accurately. And the students are very much engaged. They're required to comment on the opposite. So it's a pro-con debate. And they need to definitely comment on the other side. However, students are commenting on everybody's. They're like, never thought of it that way, or, I mean, and we're doing heavy topics, such as how should scarce resources be allocated? How is death defined? With scarce resources, is it a first come, first serve? Is it, there's multiple different ways. So it's very in-depth, engaging. I like to read the posts before grading. I've never had an issue of somebody putting in an inappropriate post. I've been lucky. But I do like to read them, and they have a rubric, and the rubric is written. I put it in with the instructions so they see it every time. And it's also we use Blackboard as our LMS. It's also in Blackboard with every Harmonize question. So they know what they're being graded on and that they can see for themselves, what the requirements are. So that's how I use it. I use it a little differently than some of my peers.
One of the folks in the chat suggested maybe case studies for the ethics debate. Do you ever start them with case studies, or how do you sort of seed the debate?
How I see the debate is, for example, the one group, I'll take death. One group will have to be the pro for death should be determined by neurological criteria. The con of that one is death should not be determined by neurological criteria. The other version of that is the other pair is death should be determined by cardiac criteria, and death should not be determined by cardiac criteria. And I put it in there that way because I want them to get them to think. In New York State, they can declare people in certain situations, they can declare a person dead, and that they need to know about it. And if it's a situation that they can't, they also need to know about that. I don't do it as a case study per se, because they have to write it. The course is also heavily writing course, and they have to write up an ethics case study where I give them cases. And then in Harmonize, they have to present what case they picked and how they would have solved their case using their ethical criteria. So the case studies are not part of Harmonize. However, students are presenting, and they have a limited number of cases so that students are seeing how each other would have solved a certain case.
Do you see their conversations in that ethics assignment, the debate ethics assignment, influencing their ethics project later on, the case study project?
What I find is, because I also use some journaling, is that they admit that they are able to see things in a different light. And I do find by the end of the course usually. Most students are not as black and white and realize that ethics and even public policy is gray. And for most students, I can watch that development because I have asked them to really think hard in the beginning with the ethical case study paper and with the questions that I use in Harmonize for discussion, and also the debates in Harmonize.
Very interesting. Thank you, Margaret, for sharing that. I did want to kind of go back, and I know several of you mentioned that you actually use Harmonize as a way to get your nursing students to become the teacher, to let them give lessons. Tara was, I'm losing my spot here. I think it's Tara was the one who told me about that. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there with that teaching demonstrations that you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, as I'm listening to the discussion, I was actually thinking about how we use Harmonize to kind of scaffold components of this teaching demonstration assignment in the course. So one of the courses I teach is clinical teaching and health professions education. And we also put our students in thinking partner groups for this assignment. And there are 3 components of it. One of them is the actual teaching demonstration where students learn different types of techniques for engagement, checking for understanding, really just best practices in how to teach someone how to do something. The other part of that is providing peer feedback to others in the class. So again, with those thinking partner groups, the students are reviewing each other's teaching demonstration, and then they have to use a technique that they used in class to provide them with feedback. And we want to make sure that they're providing psychological safety, giving them some constructive feedback, as well as highlighting the things that they did well. So preceding this, we actually have them review a TED Talk by Amy Edmondson related to psychological safety. So that's a whole other component that they do in preparation for this. So they're using different really techniques and skills that they learned in preparation for this teaching demo. And then the third component of that is self-reflection. So after they've reviewed all the feedback from their peers, they take some time, walk through a reflection activity that currently we're using a journal feature in the LMS that we have. And the reason that we do that is because all of the journals that the students are completing for the modules are in the LMS. But I would love to be able to actually trial this maybe next time I teach the course, and putting the reflections in Harmonize using the student to instructor feature. So it's something that's just between the students and the instructor, and it would allow us to be able to view everything all in Harmonize versus having to go out and look at the journals separately. So that's certainly something that, you know, I'm interested in doing in the future, because we do take all of those components, they're embedded in a rubric, and then we're providing students with a grade and feedback for those.
So now they're presenting through video. Do you see any hesitation on their part ever about, do you ever get feedback? I don't want to be on camera or anything to that nature?
No, we have not had any issues with that at all. I think it helps that they're, you know, we kind of start by establishing that community, but students are all doing the same assignment. So the expectations are the same across the board. We do have students providing the feedback using a video as well, which I think is helpful, because we do a little bit of role playing how to provide feedback in the synchronous session that we have, but this is an opportunity for them to practice providing feedback, and it's also part of the grading rubric.
That's that's good to
cool.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, just so you know, Tara, that we're adding screen share into Harmonize, and I don't know if David shared that with you, but that might be a cool thing to play with.
Yes, we're so excited about that, actually. Yeah, and I did share that at a university-wide education, technology, governance meeting today, and the team was very excited there as well.
Awesome.
So
we get that one requested a lot. And that when you described your case, I'm like, teaching, you definitely need to, well, anyway.
yeah.
All right. Do we have any more questions, Marcus?
Not yet. I have a question on just the pacing of, a lot of you are doing private reflections, you're doing journal entries. Are you doing these immediately after the discussion module finishes, or are these more of a semester end type of reflection space where you are having them go over everything that happened in the course? Like, is it more granular and timely, or is it more of a wrap up to the course?
So I'll tell you, for the course that I teach, our modules are 2 weeks long, and it's meant to be a reflection of the module itself. So we encourage our students to do it at the end of the module. So they're reflecting on the components that they've learned in that specific session, like in that section of the course. Margaret, you mentioned reflections as well, I think, right?
Yes, my modules are weekly. And so it is after the all the comments and all the discussion on Harmonize has been completed. So it's usually due the following week.
I also too, so the reflection as well is done after that module. So it is directly after. However, as Tara was talking to, that piece of the reflection with student to instructor is one of the goals that we have for our new semester that's going to be starting in the summer, that the reflections will be in there. Also the screen share, that was like the best news we could get. So we could see a lot of uses for this moving forward in our programs across the School of Nursing. So when we did find that out, I think all four of us were kind of really excited for what's to come with our instructional design team.
Very cool. And Tara, you were talking about the scaffolding and this idea of, like, when they are responding in video, we're encouraging them to give the video response, because part of the course as well is learning to deliver feedback. Like, are you lacing that through? Like, I think about nursing, and granted, I know very little about nursing, but bedside matter and presentation and all of these things I would think would be extremely hard to get to in an online class. Like, do you do that constantly throughout the nursing program of trying to encourage both just the data consumption, but also the behavior coaching, as it were?
Yes, absolutely. And it's something that our students always want more of, because it takes a lot of practice in order to feel comfortable providing feedback. And I think it's something that they're just the least comfortable with. It's very easy to provide someone with concrete feedback that they did things well, but coaching, whether it's new hires or student nurses, coaching them through some challenges that they're having is something completely different. So this is one of the assignments where they do that, but we also do it in there's several opportunities, but they have an assessment course that they complete, and during their one of their simulated patient scenarios that we have a live patient or a standardized patient, and students walk through a head to toe assessment, doing a history, that type of thing. And we do have another student in the room with them as a peer reviewer. So they have the criteria in front of them and they provide feedback to their peer. And then the instructor provides feedback after that. So that's another opportunity that they have to do that. But it really is embedded throughout the program, so that hopefully upon graduation, that's something that they feel a little bit more comfortable doing.
Very cool. That is amazing. Back to you, David. Sorry, I keep interrupting with questions, but I hadn't heard a lot of this before, so.
No, it's great.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of you for participating. I know we're coming up towards the end here. I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any other questions. Give the everyone who's in attendance a chance if they had any questions. So if you do, put that in chat. I did want to share something that I recently learned, and I knew it, but it's just not something I put together. And several times when you were talking, it made me think of went back to this example, the students in Harmonize have the same capabilities that the instructors do when they're setting up their post. And this instructor that I met with, she said that one of the things they were doing in their classes was having the students create their own polls as a part of their post and comments. And so they would say, you need to create 3 poll questions, put that in your post, and then have your other students respond to the polling, which I thought was just a new, innovative way to get interaction, but also to kind of maybe condense and consolidate some of the things that were being discussed within that assignment. So just another idea that I've heard out there.
I threw out a comment to one of our panelists, not sure they're or not one of our panelists, to one of our participants. They had an interesting case in the Padlet. If you're not watching the chat and you are interested in coming on and describing that, happy to promote you to video to talk through it. But of course, no pressure. So I won't name names on the recording and such. So your call if you want to come on and share the case you put in the Padlet. Not hearing, so perhaps not. I'm scanning through real quick and see if there's other questions. I would encourage folks to go ahead and pay attention to the Padlet after the fact, go through it. There was a couple back and forths going on in the Padlet. I highlighted a couple of them, and I tried to copy a couple of the ideas into the Padlet as well, so you had that as a takeaway after the fact. Let's go through. I guess one question I had, and I wasn't going to delve too much into Harmonize features because it was more about the nursing side, but did any of your students actually start to leverage some of the video commenting features where they would actually comment at a certain point in time in the video when they're doing it? Did you make that explicit for them, or did they just find that on their own? Was it part of the assignment you encouraged, or was it something that they just picked up and started doing?
I think because we do the tutorial, so we have that posted, I believe that it's not prescriptive. So it is stated that at any point, the video format, you can, share different ideas. You can add in that, that specific post. You can post your own video of the instructions to them, and you can go through that. But I did not message that out. However, our students that are a little unfamiliar with a new technology, they will definitely go into the directions and the tutorials and play around. So I definitely noticed that.
And are you teaching more grad for this? Is that more, I'm curious just in terms of motivation, grad or undergrad as well?
Undergrad.
Okay, cool.
The ones that do this are mostly our gamers. So
Fair.
I will tell you, I have several students who are very, very equipped with technology and gaming. So anything new they love to play with. So, which is good.
Kids these days in their games. Oh, wait. Excellent. All right. Any wrap up from anyone? Any additional thoughts to share? All right.
Just thank you for the opportunity. This was great to be able to come and share some of our experience and ideas.
Yes,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael, Margaret, Tara, and Becky. It was a pleasure getting to know you guys and learning all about the course. And thank you so much for sharing. I know there's probably going to be a lot of people who, not only today, but down the road, are going to be very appreciative of you sharing all this information. I do want to do some self-promotion real quick. So this is not the only webinar we're doing this year. We're doing a series. It's all subject specific. We have one coming up this Tuesday that one of the best CEOs in the country is going to be leading for us.
Duly noted, David.
Marcus, our CEO, will be leading the AI enhanced class. That webinar is coming up Tuesday. We also have digital arts coming up, communications, and I just booked today. We're going to be doing a webinar with history, date to be announced very soon. But we're hoping to have a lot of different subjects that instructors throughout the country can access and get good ideas, not only just for Harmonize, but even outside of Harmonize, just different ideas to be able to do create and be innovative in the online world. So thank you all again so much. And unless we have any other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and let you out just a little bit early and enjoy your afternoon.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
And
you.
be on the
good
lookout
day.
for those Starbucks gift cards. So we'll see who wins.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Are we good?
All set. I don't know if we were supposed to stay.
Yeah, I don't know if either.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there might be some attendees still here, but yes, thank you. That I thought that went great. So I think it's perfect. I do think what I said was very genuine. I think you're going to have a lot of people who will access this in the next coming weeks and months and years, and they're going to be very impressed and very thankful to have this knowledge that you guys shared with them. So thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
We'll be glad
I
to
will
come
say
back.
this. I did tell you guys, well, I didn't tell you a fib. It was on the calendar. I said March 21st was that release date. It got pushed back. I think it's April. It's now in April, but it's early April. I think the first week of April. But
That's okay. As
just,
long as it's good for summer, we're good.
it definitely be here by summer. So, you know how it goes with the tech world. You know, you hope for something on a certain day, and then something happens, it gets pushed back. So,
Yeah.
but
That was
all
fun.
right.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Have
Bye-bye.
a great rest of your
Yep.
day.
Bye.
Bye.